Hey guys, today's video is about Joying and their latest offering, which is this 12.3 inch device with a physical volume knob on a single DIN form factor, and it has a 6125 8-core CPU with 8 gigabytes of memory, and it's going to be amazing. Let me show you. Now, Joying doesn't need any introduction. They are probably one of the most prestigious brands in the universal Android head unit industry, and I have reviewed some of their other offerings as well, as you've probably seen. This particular head unit is one of their newest ones. It comes in 2 different form factors. You can have it in single DIN or double DIN, and you can have it in 2 different sizes. It comes in 8.9 inch or 12.3 inch, and inside this box is the 12.3 inch. Now, you can't really buy a bad Joying because they are quite meticulous about the type of hardware and software that they use on their devices, but this one is Flagship. So it has the 6125 SoC, which is an 8-core CPU, and it has 8 gigabytes of memory, so it literally is going to run anything that you could possibly push at it. On top of that, it has the physical volume knob, and that's something that you don't generally get on larger screen devices, so I'm quite interested to see what that looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unbox it, I'm going to install it in the car, and we're going to have a play with it and see how good it is. I will remind you that I do not get paid to endorse any company or products, including anything from Joying, so this is more about me giving you my opinion of these devices whilst it's in use. Quite looking forward to this one. Let's open it and see what's inside. Here it is, and I've said before in my previous videos that Joying makes some of the most beautiful Android head units, and this is no exception. Let's have a closer look. So as you can see, it's very well designed, very sleek, very thin, and it has this protruding volume knob, which is going to make a very useful addition to this head unit. Ultimately, it just looks very, very well designed. Capacitive touch buttons along the bottom here, and then on the back we have the standard Joying mounting system, and that is these holes along both sides here, so that you can actually move these clips up or down to get the right positioning on your dashboard. And these clips actually go into the front of the main unit here, this single DIN unit. This does come in single or double DIN. I've opted for the single DIN for the install that I'm going to be doing today. Let's put it around the right way, and then we can basically clip those screen plugs into the clips on here, and then just plug in the main cable. I mean, what that actually means is that this is a detachable head unit, because you can just pull it on, push it off, and plug in the ribbon cable as well, and that just makes it easier if you do need to take the head unit off. So if you're in a dodgy area and you don't want to show people that you have this big screen device, you can actually take it off if you want to. Taking a look at the back of the Joying unit, and you can see it sort of has a mixture of physical ports on the back, and then you have some loose wires here. This is the sort of standard Joying form factor here. So we have 3 USB ports, 2 physically on the unit and then 1 hanging here. We have a holder for the 4G SIM card if you're intending to use the data connection built in. You have front camera input over here, and the power for that camera as well. We have a couple of options for CAN bus. You can use the standard key wires for steering wheel controls, or you can have advanced CAN bus. And advanced CAN bus basically means that this screen will show things like climate control, heated seats, open doors, and other integrations very specifically for your car if it's compatible, which is awesome. And then you have the center channel RCA over here as well, which means that you're getting a center channel as well as the other speakers, meaning that it's going to be compatible with sort of DTS 5.1 channels of sound, which is great. From a digital audio perspective, it has both optical and coaxial SPDIF digital outputs. So if you have a digital amp, you can get a totally lossless connection from this head unit to that amp, which is awesome, and it's something you only get with these premium Android head units. You have a FM radio antenna here, microphone input here. You've got two antenna inputs for the 4G data connection. We have analog video and audio input here. And then we have the standard RCAs, so front left, front right, rear right, and subwoofer RCAs all built into the back here. And these are actually 4-volt RCAs, so you're actually going to get high-powered output from these RCAs as well, which is awesome. And finally over here we have the GPS antenna input and the main loom entry point here. Also in the box we get two USB extension leads, GPS antenna, external microphone, two 4G antennas, the main loom with an ISO plug on it, and an instruction book. And that's pretty much it. So let's go and stick it in the car and see what it's like. And so here is the join installed in this Saab 9 and I have to tell you, this was one of the best installation experiences that I have had. And the main reason for that was because this is a notoriously difficult car to install an aftermarket head unit in, mainly because it was never designed to take an aftermarket head unit. And there are certain things about this joining head unit that made that a breeze. First being, of course, that it is a standard single DIN unit, which is actually fairly easy to install in this section of the car. And the steering wheel controls, which I will show you a bit later, but because it actually gives you specialist control over the reading of the resistance from the car, it made the steering wheel control installation very, very easy as well. For now, we're going to switch it on and see how long it takes to boot up. So that's on now. And that is it. It is literally a second to boot up, and that actually did that the very first time that I ever switched it on. So it's not a case that, you know, it powers down and then you have to wait several seconds for Android to boot up. This doesn't actually cold boot at all. It must have some capacitors or something inside it which retain power, because the fact is it never actually powers down. It's instantly on whenever I turn it on, and that's awesome. You can obviously restart it if you need to with the reboot button here, but so far I have not needed to do that because this is actually one of probably the best Android head units that I have ever tested. So we'll talk about the screen first of all. You'll see that it's a weird form factor, this sort of ultra wide design, and I actually really like that. In fact, it was the reason why I got this particular head unit for this car, was because it is ultra wide. So that serves two purposes for me. The first being that it covers up behind the dashboard where I've had to do some customization to actually get an aftermarket head unit in. I could have got their other new unit, which is 8.9 inches, I think, but it wouldn't have covered up all of the mess behind the screen. So I went for the 12.3, which is what this one is. Now, the other good thing about having an ultra wide display is split screen. Because it's ultra wide, you get more screen real estate for each app when you're using a split screen functionality. And this is Android 12, and it has specialist joining software on it, which makes split screen very good indeed, but we'll show you that a little bit later. So the launcher software is sort of the generic launcher software for joining. These three icons down the bottom here are customizable. You just push and hold them, and then you can choose whatever app that you actually want to have it there. And then these three widgets, I've got navigation, radio, and music. They are all changeable with the edit button that you can see up here. So for example, if you drive a pickup truck or a 4x4 and you want to have a compass and longitude and latitude and the speed, you can have all of that on here instead. On the left hand side, we've got home. We've got the ability to view all the installed apps. We have the settings here, and we have the ability to actually control the brightness of the screen in steps, although you can control the brightness of the screen here as well. Everything about this screen, everything about the actual unit itself is fantastic, and I'm sure you've already seen that below the screen we have this, a real physical volume knob, which is illuminated as well, which is really cool, and it has a button which mutes the audio as well. So this is a fully functioning head unit. If you didn't have steering wheel controls, at least you've got some control on here. And you do have these capacitive touch buttons again, which are illuminated, and you can choose the color of it. I've matched the Saab's green color with this, so it sort of integrates with the car better. But the other thing about these capacitive touch buttons, obviously you can see that this one's for navigation and music and radio and Bluetooth, but you can actually repurpose all of these buttons. So if you didn't have steering wheel controls and say you wanted to be able to control next and backtrack and some other features, you can actually repurpose these buttons to do whatever you want as well, which again, perfection from Joying. It's like, these are truly the best universal Android head units that money can buy. I really cannot stress that enough. They're not paying me to say that. I really love Joying head units from a universal perspective. They're just great. Right, so let's talk about the radio. There's things that I like and I don't like about the radio on the Joying. One of my annoyances, as you probably know from watching my other videos, is RDS not being in a prominent location. Now, they do give you all these presets over here, and you can see that some of them have radio station names, but I actually had to put them in manually. So Joying does actually get points from me because I actually could put them in manually. For example, if I choose this station here, you can see that it's Classic FM because the RDS is actually there. It's just, unfortunately, when you save the station, it doesn't save the station name here. So what I need to do is favorite the station, so 92.3 is favorited, go into the edit, find 92.3 here and edit again, and then name it Classic FM. So points are scored for that. And then obviously when you have the stations that you want, you can just press this button, it'll only show you the favorited stations. It just gives you sort of easy access. The radio sounds fantastic on this, and I have found that the FM chipset seems to be rather good from picking up radio stations, and this actually does have AM radio as well. Talking about specifications, this Joying runs top of the line stuff. It has the 6125 Qualcomm 8-core CPU with 8 GB of RAM. There is nothing that this thing is not going to be able to run, and you can see here that the screen runs 1920 by 720. So it's a good resolution screen as well. But let's see how fast it is in the real world, as usual, using our apps. So let's start with Waze. Yeah, look at that. Look how quick that was. Amazing. So we'll look at Spotify. Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, you're just not waiting any time for stuff to load up. Now, earlier in the video, I was talking about using split screen functionality and how having a wide screen like this is great for that. So to activate split screen, what you do is you go into the app selection screen, which shows you all the open apps. You tap the icon logo of the app, and then you go split screen. And it puts it on that side of the screen, and then you can choose something else to put here. So I'm going to choose Waze. And now we have navigation and a music app side by side. And if you want to switch them, you can tap here and you can switch them so they're now on the opposite sides. Again, the design of this software, fabulous. Like, this is what I'm talking about. One of the apps I really love to use is Project M, which is a music visualization tool. As you can see, it's sitting here. So whilst I'm playing my music, you can see that it is playing, and I find it really awesome to have some music visualizations whilst I am listening to music in my car. It's just something cool that you can do with Android head units, which you can't do with any other type of head unit. And that's the split screen function. And in my opinion, having the ultra wide screen gives you that much more space per app, and it really gives you a much better experience. Obviously, being an Android head unit, we can pretty much install whatever apps that you could possibly want. So we got Netflix here, or we can use YouTube. So all the video apps, all the audio apps, everything. Anything that you can install on a phone or a tablet, you can install on this head unit. That makes it awesome. But it doesn't stop there. Obviously, the Android head units have these special hardware things that you can attach to them. This particular head unit has a built-in DVR, which means you can add a front and a rear camera, and it will record from both sources. Or you can add a USB DVR, which is actually what I've done in this car. So as you can see, you just hit a button and you can see that it's recording. You can also add tire pressure monitoring sensors. You can add DAB radio. You can add pretty much anything that you want to modernize your car into this head unit, as you can with any Android head unit. but the joying makes it very, very easy indeed. Of course, it has the reverse camera, so you can set that up very, very easily indeed. But let's talk about the steering wheel controls. So to access it, we go into settings, and then we go into the car settings. We scroll all the way to the bottom and we go to key to learn, and then steering wheel keys to learn. And it is as simple as selecting an icon on the screen and then pressing a button on the steering wheel. But that's normal for an Android head unit, as I'm sure you're aware. What's special about this head unit is it is probably one of the only Android head units that works in this car, because it gives you advanced resistance reading options. If you go into settings, you can actually choose the key tolerance and the pull-up resistance level. And to make it work with this car, I had to change the key tolerance to 100 millivolts and the pull-up resistor level to low. And that's something that you just can't do on other Android head units. When I first installed this, it wouldn't work. And I thought, okay, well, there's something wrong. But ultimately, all I needed to do was change these settings so that it would read the resistance of the steering wheel buttons correctly, and now it works. So massive points for joying for that functionality. And as you can see, I have all 8 buttons on my steering wheel already preset, including the voice control. So if I press this button on my steering wheel, play Michael Jackson on Spotify.
Okay, playing Michael Jackson on Spotify.
There's a lot of stuff about this joying from a car integration perspective, which just makes it fantastic. One of the other really amazing things regarding the flagship joying units like this is it actually has an HDMI port, which I didn't show you during the unboxing because it's not on the back of the unit, it's actually inside it. Don't ask me why they do it in that fashion, but you can actually take the top off the unit, plug in an HDMI to the HDMI port, and have a second screen, and it will mirror everything that's on the screen on a second screen. And then this button up here, you can actually send that particular app to the second screen and run something separate on this one. For example, if you're watching Netflix, that's going to be duplicated across both screens. Press this button and it will send that to the second screen and give you your dashboard back, this launcher software on this screen, whilst the other screen is still playing Netflix. And then you can navigate or do whatever on this screen. And here it is in use with a different joying unit so that you get an idea of what that is. I'm going to show you Android Auto and Apple CarPlay now, but I will die inside if anyone buys this head unit just to use Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, because it is a flagship Android head unit. Please install apps, use the split screen functionality, use it as it was designed to be used. Please don't use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, but I'm going to show you it now. So I'm turning on Bluetooth on my phone, and as you can see, the head unit has changed. Android Auto connecting, and there we go. And again, it's utilizing the full width of this ultra wide screen, so it just makes things really, really useful to use. It's Android Auto at the end of the day. It's going to give you all the apps and everything that you need to do, which is installed on your Android phone using the power of your phone rather than the actual head unit itself. And because it's streaming, that's what Android Auto does. It streams the apps from your phone, just like CarPlay streams from the iPhone. You are going to get a bit of lag because it's streaming from the phone, and that's why it's a bit slow when you do that. Okay, let's try Apple CarPlay. So I'm just connecting my dodgy iPhone to the joying. Instantly there's a change to the screen. Apple CarPlay connecting. Use CarPlay, yes. And there we go. And it looks absolutely fabulous. Again, making full use of the ultra wide screen. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely perfect, exactly what you would expect. So yes, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto completely wirelessly, and yeah, it's absolutely fine. Now the last thing that we should talk about with regards to this unit is the sound quality, because it's a major aspect of buying any head unit. And joyings are known for their spectacular sound chip. That's the amplifier chip and the DSP chip that they choose to use in their units are very, very good, and that means you get really good sound quality. If we go into the settings here, into sound effects, we can start to see the way that you can sort of set up this car. So you can see that I have mine set to 4 channels because that is actually how I have this connected. I have the front left and right and rear left and right speakers in this car. In my other car, I have a separate subwoofer, so I would be using 4.1. And if I wanted to, there is a center channel, there is a middle speaker in this car, and I could wire it separately to this. You did see that it has an RCA specifically for the center channel. I didn't do that, but if I did, then I could have it on 5.1 channels of sound. But at the moment, I've set it to 4 channels, so you can set it however you want, you can wire it however you want. The next one is the sound settings themselves. Now, what you're looking at are presets. So these are preset sounds that you can go through whilst you're playing music to see which one you like the most. This is keeping things nice and simple for people who don't want to mess about, because this has one of the most advanced sound manipulation softwares that exist, which I'll show you now. So if we go to simple mode, then you are treated with this graphic equalizer, and it's actually 3 pages of graphic equalizer, and this is simple mode. So you can alter a magnitude of different frequencies to try to get it to sound exactly as you want. And one thing that I should note is that when you modify this and you get to like the sound, you're only actually modifying the front left and right speakers, because you've got rear left and rear right, the center and the subwoofer. All of these have their own graphic equalizer. So it actually takes rather a long time to set this up. And the reason why they do that is some cars have like 6x9s in the back, different speakers in the front and the back. So you get to tune them how you want. And then obviously you can actually set a preset. So once you've spent all this time going through all of the individual speakers to get them how they sound, you can save it. And that means you're never going to lose it, because that would be a ball ache having to do all of that again, and it is a ball ache to do on this particular head unit. Complex mode is exactly the same, except it's individual speakers: front left, front right, rear left, rear right, center and sub. So you can individually set the speakers up with their own graphic equalizer, their own sound if you wanted to. That's the granular detail that this joying head unit gives you to set up the sound. I will tell you right away that this thing sounds amazing. All the sound processing is exactly the same as the previous joying head unit that I reviewed. One thing that I will say which separates joying from the rest is the RCA pre-outs on a joying head unit are around 4 to 4.2 volts, which blasts pretty much every other brand out of the water. Most other brands have around 1 or 2 volts on the pre-outs, and joying just completely blows that out of the water. So if you are running analog amplifiers and you're looking for high-powered pre-outs, this head unit will deliver on that front. So the next one here is the fade and balance. Really very easy, it's as simple as that. And then we have different modes of sound. You've got cinema mode, which emphasizes the 5.1 if you have 5.1 channels of speakers set up. Keeping it on music mode gives it more direct, pure sound, which is why I have it on there. And you've got various others. Virtual center gives a very specific fake center speaker. I like it with some music and not with others. You can play around with it and see what you like. Surround modes, different mixing levels, bass boost, the sound field focus, and then the actual subwoofer settings are separate here as well, and you can alter the phase if you want to do that as well. And this last tab gives you the ability to set delays to the individual speakers so that you can sort of get the car to sound exactly as you want it to. And gain adjustment does the same. It gives you the ability to adjust the volume slightly on each of the 4 channels. And then finally you have the crossover functionality here as well. So I mean, it's unlikely that you are not going to find a setting that you want to give the car the sound that you're looking for. It literally does everything. Honestly, it's probably one of the very best head units for sound quality that money can buy. And actually, I did a top 7 Android head unit reward for 2023, and Joying did win the sound quality award for 2023. And this head unit is identical from the point of view of sound processing, so it is awesome. And that's pretty much it for this joying head unit. Really brilliant. The only negative thing that I could potentially say about it is that I would have preferred the launcher software to have like a little window where you can run your own app without actually leaving the launcher. And some of their other head units do have this functionality, but these new ones don't. But again, it's not really the end of the world, because this particular head unit does allow split screen and other functionality. Anyway, if I've missed anything, please do ask in the comment section below, and I will see what I can do about answering you. And if there's any other head units that you'd like me to review, just let me know and I'll see what I can do. Okay, until next time.